there's a lot of pressure on Frank Reich. He's the guy that has to make this offense work. And I think if you're being objective with the offseason that the Jets have had, they have at least positioned themselves to have on paper the makings of a competent offense. No matter how anyone feels about Geno Smith, you can't tell me that an offense with him at quarterback, with Breece Hall at running back, with Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper Jr., and A.D. Mitchell at wide receiver, the tight end combo they now have with Kenyon Sadiq and Mason Taylor, and an offensive line that a year ago was the strength of the team, you can't tell me that this is not at least a competent offense on paper. Now, Frank Reich wasn't in football last year as far as the NFL. He was at Stanford. So there's a lot of questions about, well, what does he have left? Can he evolve? Right? His most recent NFL opportunity, he didn't make it through the year. He got fired in the middle of his first season in a dysfunctional situation in Carolina. So there's questions surrounding Frank Reich. I think if you compare the options that the Jets had after they got rid of Tanner Engstrand in the middle of the Senior Bowl this past offseason, he was probably the best that Aaron Glenn could do. And Glenn at least was able to get Frank Reich to take this job because those two had a relationship. They were teammates on the 1996 1-15 New York Jets. So Frank is now the OC, and he's got a chance, I think, with the ingredients that Darren Muji has given him, to at least have the makings of a real offense. An offense that can, I don't know, complete a pass, maybe do this thing called find the end zone, right? That is what I think Frank Reich can now coordinate, because I do think no matter how anyone feels about Geno Smith, he's better than what we saw last year with the Raiders, and he is light years better than any quarterback that took the field for the Jets in 2025. So now let's listen in to what Frank Reich said. Here's the best of Frank Reich from earlier today at One Jets Drive.
Good to be here. Super excited to be a Jet, and obviously this opportunity is one that I'm thankful to AG for. Have a chance to work with and for him. Obviously, you guys know we go way back, not only as teammates, but really as former players who found their way into the coaching profession and then have kept in touch and continued to develop that relationship over the years. Secondly, how AG has tweaked this staff to come in, and for me being here for a couple months now, working not only with the offensive staff, which has been super dynamic. The guys that stayed have been incredible. The new guys have been brought in, also good. But also for me, getting to know the other coordinators and the rest of the staff. I'm really impressed with Duker and Banjo, the other two coordinators, top-notch people and top-notch football minds. And now that the players are here, obviously most excited about getting to work with them. This really, we know as coaches that this is what it's all about. It's about working with the players and getting to not only now watch the tape, but see these guys in meetings, get them on the field, work with them. It's been a good start. So I'll open it up from there.
Frank, could you talk about when this opportunity first arose? Were you looking to get back in after Stanford? Were you thinking about taking a year off? Where were you mindset-wise? And then just describe when AG contacted you.
My mindset after Stanford was, honestly, Stanford kind of re-energized me for coaching. It just reminded me of my love for the game, for the sport, for the purity of just coaching, being out on the field with the guys. And so when I got back, I sat and talked with my wife, and I said, I'm not going to jump at anything, but if the right person calls and it's the right place, I will go. And that was my mindset when I got back. And, got a couple phone calls on a couple fronts that, nothing moved the needle for me. But as soon as AG called, I knew right away this was something I wanted to do. Mainly because of him, but also because of the challenge and the opportunity to be a part of a staff and be part of a team, an organization that has an opportunity to do something special and turn something around. At this point, I love that idea, and I'm excited about that, and I feel like I got something to offer and contribute to helping that happen.
Frank, what was it specifically, other than you said mainly AG was the drawing card to the Jets, but specifically, because you looked at the Jets were coming off obviously a tough year, with an unsettled quarterback situation. So a lot of offensive coaches would say, why do I want to do that? So what was it about it that attracted you?
Well, those are the things that maybe I'm a little backwards, but that's actually what attracts me. You know what I mean? How to figure it out. Take what looks on the surface like a difficult situation and figure out how to get it done, knowing that it can get done. That's what I love about this business. It's the best of the best. You're with the best coaches and the best players in the world. And I could see from watching the tape very early on and just knowing my familiarity with, some of the people here beforehand, knowing how good the offensive line looked. Obviously, you got a couple play. You got a running back and a receiver in Garrett and Brees that are really good players. A tight end room that's very strong. There was a lot to like about looking at this team, looking at this opportunity in front of us.
You're watching Frank Reich's first press conference. He spoke with members of the media earlier today. Good stuff so far from Frank Reich. I think he handled himself really well up there. I like that he talked about the Jets being a challenge and that attracted him to the job. The Jets need people with that mentality if they're going to turn this around. Obviously, he's got the relationship with Glenn. Now, the one thing he mentioned is that he had other opportunities, but he wasn't just going to take any job. I don't think there was another team that would have made Frank Reich their offensive coordinator. So maybe he got QB coaching opportunities. Maybe he could have been an offensive consultant on some teams. So, look, we talk about the Jets being a difficult situation. Well, there's a lot of people that don't think Frank Reich is still capable of being a good OC. So I like, the challenge that he has from people that are even going to doubt him. But, look, he's not wrong. The offensive line is good. You had Garrett Wilson. You do have Brees Hall. They're players here. And obviously, this is before they supplemented their talent with the moves they made in the NFL draft. Here's more from Frank Reich. Again, we'll play you more of what he said, and then we will break it all down and get your calls on this and everything else going on in the world for the New York Jets. Here's more of Frank Reich. Is he the right choice for the New York Jets? Let's listen in.
Frank, when you mentioned all that, what do you want the offense to look like?
Well, certainly don't want to lay out what our plans are, but I can tell you this. The staff already, there's been dynamic interaction. There's a very clear vision now that we know the entirety of our offense, of personnel. There's a very clear vision of what we'll do and how we'll do it. And everything will be done to accentuate what the players do best. Obviously, that starts up front. Listen, it's certainly going to be no secret or surprise to say we're going to want to run the football. And so we'll continue to emphasize that. And this team these guys ran the ball pretty well last year, so we'll build on that. And then, but you also have to find ways to be dynamic in the passing game and be excellent in situational football. So, and the way to do that is to create problems that the defenses can't solve. And you do that schematically, you do that personnel-wise, and then so those are the things that we're focused on as a coaching staff and that we'll work with the players on.
What are your thoughts on getting to work with Geno Smith and having a veteran under center, and how well do you think that he fits into your scheme?
I think he fits perfect. I've liked Geno from day one. When he was coming out of West Virginia, I had high grade on Geno. I'd not met Geno before here, and I'm kind of glad because I'm even more impressed with him now meeting him in person. I feel his resilience, his toughness. I always think the number one attribute in any quarterback that you need, especially you want to come and turn something around, is you need someone who's tough. Tough mentally, tough physically, and I feel that from Geno on every front. I think his experience, the ups and downs that he's been through, and he's had great success and had to deal with some tough seasons. And if you play in this league long enough, everyone's going to face that. And if you are the person, if you're the right kind of leader, then you come out of it better. And I think that's the version of Geno Smith we're getting the best version of who he is. And I think his best football's ahead of him.
The fate of the Jets in 2026, I believe, is in the hands of Frank Reich and Geno Smith. Because we know Aaron Glenn can't do anything to help the offense. We saw that. His pick was Justin Fields last year, and he said Fields was tough to game plan against, right? So the Geno decision, that was Frank Reich driven. That was Darren Muji driven. That's obvious. And anyone with eyes could see Geno's better than Justin Fields. Can they design an offense where Geno could still play high-level football? I think Geno Smith can be a competent quarterback if he's protected. I don't think the version we saw with the Raiders is who he is. They have a good offensive line, right? You heard him mention it. I like the fact that Geno's coming in with a chip on his shoulder, that he feels like he has unfinished business. I like that Reich feels that way That's got to be the Jets mentality, man. They're going to be flying under the radar. No one's picking them. Their win total is 5.5 right now for a reason. That's after the draft. I thought I might move a little bit. So, look, I like what I've heard from this OC. I like it a lot. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. We will get back to Frank Reich's introductory press conference in a moment. I want to remind people that at the end of our show today, big time giveaway for anyone who enters. A signed Kevin Mawai jersey is up for grabs. Make sure you enter the raffle by gifting a membership or sending in a $10 super chat or higher to qualify. Now, let's get back to the press conference with the new OC of the New York Jets. Here is Frank Reich.
Frank, what has the process been like for you in terms of building out this offense? I know you mentioned now that you have the personnel, you can build it out, but like, how much did you enjoy that aspect and even collaborating with AG and trying to come up with a vision of what you want it to look like?
I mean, I really do. I don't want to overstate it, but like the amount of fun that I've been having the last couple of months, with AG, because he's been very involved, asking a lot of questions, giving me what his vision for the whole team is, how that fits offense, defense, special teams. We go back and forth on things in the most dynamic of ways, from personnel, me picking his brain, because he was obviously here last year with all these guys. And so doing that with AG and then getting with the coaches and using the experience, because the offense is, in some ways it's the same, but I'm always looking every time I go to a new place. I want to pick things up that are going to make it better. I'm not looking to, hey, this is the way we've always done it. This is, no, I want to learn from other people, always learn from new players. So look forward to interacting with these players. But listen, to be sure, coming in here with a clear vision of what it's going to look like, but now draw on the experience of the other coaches that are here, tweak a few things here and there, evaluate our personnel. How are we going to mix our personnel groups? At what level? What percentage of this personnel? What percentage of that personnel? What's our ideal vision on first and second down, run pass? How are we going to set things up? How are we approaching third downs? How are we going to divide that up? How are we going to attack in the red zone? What's the 2-minute philosophy? All those things we talk through as a staff to kind of develop what is our system. It's a bunch of collaboration coming together to develop the New York Jets offense, and it's going very well.
Well, think about what he just said there too, right? How they deploy their system, their personnel. That's the whole key for the Jets to have any shot at success. They took a tight end 16th overall. They better have a plan for 12 personnel, 13 personnel. Put Ruckert out there with 2 other tight ends that they have on the team in certain sets. You don't want to be predictable. The last year, the Jets were so predictable because they had a quarterback who couldn't complete a pass. So teams were not going to respect the passing attack for the Jets. The Jets have the ability to run the ball and pass if Geno is healthy and protected. He could check to runs if they're favoring the pass and vice versa. That's on the OC and the quarterback to be on the same page. Oh, you're going to try and stack the box? Well, here's Garrett Wilson, or here's A.D. Mitchell. Here's Omar Cooper. Different formations, the indicator of having Sadiq out there, how they try and cover him. Well, now you know what type of defense they're going to be running for the other guys that are on the field. These are the type of things the Jets didn't do last year because they couldn't. Now, hopefully with Reich, they can. The word I would use to describe Frank Reich in this presser, adult in the room. I won't play you a ton of Brian Duker, but that guy sounded like in over his head, deer in the headlights type of guy at his first presser today. And we all know it's Glenn anyway. I mean, Duker said over and over again, his job is to serve Aaron Glenn. All right. Compare that to this, and you could tell who's in charge around here. This is Frank Reich's offense, and it's on him to take the pieces that Muji provided and turn this team into a competent offense. Otherwise, the entire coaching staff is going to be fired at the end of the year. They won't make it. They won't win enough games. Here's more from Frank Reich before I give you more thoughts on some of these comments he's made.
If you've coached
Last 1 year.
a bunch of older quarterbacks throughout your career, you've had success with those type of guys. I'm wondering if there's a different coaching philosophy is when you get a guy like Geno who's had some scars and has been around for a while, as opposed to getting a young guy right out of college, like when you had Carson back in the day. or Bryce Young? Is there a different approach to coaching the older type guy?
It's a little bit different, for sure. I mean, they come in, like you said, with not only with scars, but they come in with some pelts on the wall of a lot of things that they've accomplished. And so, and both of those things will help us be a better offense and a better team. And so, there's more collaboration, when you're working with a guy like Geno, and he's been great so far. It's been a short time, but I appreciate, as I said, I can feel his strength of character, but I also feel a real hunger and eagerness to kind of learn a new system, how it's going to fit with the personnel we have, and him wanting to hear our vision of what it's going to look like offensively. And so, as I've been unfolding that to him, there's been good interaction over that, good feedback, and excited to take next steps.
So that was the end of the Reich presser. Disappointing that the Jets didn't let him stay up there and answer more questions. It was only his first. But I would have liked to hear Frank Reich's thoughts on Cade Klubnik. Hey, you had a big voice, and the Jets trading up to take Cade Klubnik in the 4th round. What did you see in him? What stood out? What is your plan for Cade Klubnik? I also would like a question on Bailey Zappi. Are you confident in Bailey Zappi? We know that there is a offer on the table for the Jets to sign Russel Wilson. Russell Wilson told the New York Post today the Jets made him an offer, and he's deciding whether or not he will take the Jets offer to be Geno's backup, which I think is a complete waste of time, or he'll go and do TV because he has an offer from CBS Sports, apparently, to do TV. If Russell Wilson is contemplating retirement, go be a celebrity and go retire, dude. All right? The Jets should renege that offer and say, nah, you're not good enough to get time to think this over. Yes or no? You're not sure? See you later. That's my take on Russell Wilson's offer from the Jets, because I saw some people asking for my thoughts on that. I think it's a waste. But I would have loved to hear Frank Reich's thoughts on Cade Klubnik. I would like to specifically hear Frank Reich's thoughts on Kenyon Sadiq. We didn't get that opportunity. The Jets only made Frank available for 9 minutes and change today. There are still questions that need to be asked of the new Jet OC, but I will say what I just said before, how I would describe Frank Reich's first Jets presser: adult in the room. And then go listen to Brian Duker, who might have been soiling himself. He was so nervous up there. I mean, my God. But Frank Reich, I thought, is a pro's pro. No one should dispute that. He's been a head coach twice. He's been an offensive coordinator of a team that won a Super Bowl. He might not have been the play caller, but he was still the OC. Like, he's been around the game a long time. Does he have enough left to still be good at his job? We're going to find out. But I like the mentality he took. I like some of the answers he said. I'd love to hear his breakdown on Kenyon Sadiq. Here's what we know about Frank Reich and Kenyon Sadiq. He was very happy when they drafted him.
Are you a happy guy?
Oh, my goodness. Let's go.
That drop is already part of our show for months to come. But overall, I think if you're a Jet fan, you want to be glass half full, be encouraged by your offensive coordinator, because I think he sounded like he has a real plan for what he's trying to do here. But that relationship with him and Geno Smith, that's going to decide whether or not Aaron Glenn remains employed, whether or not we even have a season, or it's going to be over before it really even begins. We will see. But there's still questions that could have been asked to Reich, and hopefully we get the opportunity to hear from him again, before the Jets break for training camp. Comments, questions, super chats, they cut the line. Appreciate everyone being here. Kevin Mawai's signed jersey is up for grabs. Shout out to Frank Reich, by the way, for celebrating Pride Night with that Jets hoodie that he was rocking there. This first one is from Brian, who cuts the line and is in our raffle at the end of the show for 2. He writes in, AG hasn't been a good coach, but is there anything to be said about the amount of coaches who want to see AG do well? Some people believe in him. Is that why Reich's here, or a reason why he is? Well, I definitely think the relationship that Glenn has with Reich is part of the reason Reich took the job. But can we also be honest? Frank Reich is being paid $4 or $5 million a year, reportedly. That's why he took the job. He didn't have that offer from anyone else. No other team was going to give Frank Reich the chance to be an offensive coordinator. And also remember, Frank Reich got hired after all the other teams had already filled their vacancies. No one reached out to Frank Reich. He was available for all these teams. The Jets were the last team that changed coordinators. They did it in the middle of the Senior Bowl. I was at practice when the story broke. The Jake Asman Show is now presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app made simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build your lineup in seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And PrizePicks is already offering NFL futures, including futures for New York Jets players. Take a look at the lineup that you see on the screen. Garrett Wilson, more than 4.5 reception touchdowns. David Bailey, he's going to have at least 7 sacks his rookie year. Arvell Reese, almost a Jet. I think he'll have at least 3 sacks in his rookie year with the Giants. That is a 3-pick power play, $10 to pay out $60. That is just an example of some of the lineups you can make over at PrizePicks. Make your own lineups today for any sport. Just download the PrizePicks app, use the code HMA, and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Well, that bunch of nonsense was going on. Here's Russell Wilson talking about the offer he has from the Jets. I just pulled this during whatever that was between Beast, Ricky, Stefan, who's never ready for a call, and David T.
New York City, the Jets, how did that go? Your visit out there?
It's great. They offered me, and I'm trying to figure out what's the next best thing to do and all that. And just, I still know I can play ball and do that at a high level, but also, I think that, the opportunity to do TV too is great. So we'll see what happens.
What would it mean to be teammates with Geno again in that kind of opposite role that you guys were in before?
Well, Geno's a great guy, man. We've been great friends, great teammates, but I'm just focused on the day.
And the last thing is, you mentioned the broadcasting. What would that be like for you? You'd be great at it.
There's a lot of great networks and a lot of things, and obviously there's a great opportunity for me, and we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I just love football. I love ball, being in it in every way, staying ready to to play too, and just every day I'm training and getting ready. But also too, I think I have a lot of great opportunities. The great news is there's a lot of great opportunities. I think playing 14 plus years has been amazing for me. And I'm just grateful I get to do what I love to do. Mr. Unlimited. Yeah, you got to be unlimited. You got to have a thought process of being unlimited.
I want nothing to do with that guy on the Jets. Go retire, dude. Seriously. It's enough. You played 14 years. You're talking about all these offers from TV networks. Go do that. We don't need you. We do not need you at all.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.